All right, hello, friends, and welcome back to the Gaming Dad Fujo Podcast. This is episode number 9. I am Fujosovich, your host, a former professional Hearthstone player and current analytical chemist. This is a place where we get to talk about all the things that I used to talk about when I was regularly streaming, but then I would interrupt myself with talking about gameplay, but except now we don't have the gameplay. This episode is being recorded April 6th, 2023, and today we will be talking about Hardcore Classic WoW, because honestly at this point, when don't we? The Pokemon TV series, Pokemon Go, Power Rangers, Counter-Strike 2, The Rock, and so much more. Let's get started. He's got no time to play video games, he's the Gaming Dad Fujo. Nailed it. All right, let's jump in with a really quick, short, self-indulgent Gaming Dad update. We have a bunch of topics today that we're going to get to. And I know last time I kind of joked about lightning round and all that stuff. I feel like everything's going to have to be lightning round. I'll keep my eye on the clock so we don't go too long today. But quick update, we did have our stream 2 Wednesdays ago. We had the stream on March 29th. It was fantastic. Massive success in my eyes. A bunch of people stopped by. I got to say hi, got to chat. I started a new character on Hardcore Classic WoW, which I then deleted and then moved to a different laptop. Because it's hard to move characters in Classic WoW. It's doable with the add-on, but that's fine. It was a ton of fun. I'm going to do another one. I think once a quarter, once every 6 months, maybe we'll try and do that. Unless the demand is there, of course, then I'm back online every day. But that went very well. It was a ton of fun just to do it, to sit here and game and talk to people and with people and at people live. Let's see what else is going on. We are still uploading to our Spotify and podcast locations at the same time as on YouTube, so feel free to take Fujo on the go. We are still not on iTunes, but I'm going to say that's okay. That's okay, we'll figure it out. So let's get into some actual Gaming Dad talk. Of course, we're going to start with some Hardcore Classic WoW because that's what I'm playing right now. We lost a level 11 rogue to disconnect, which I was not able to petition, but it's fine. Very low level rogue. We then lost a level 22 rogue on the Zeppelin between Orgrimmar and Undercity. I was sitting on my sofa and Love Island was on the TV, and for some reason I was looking over at something on my left and my hand hit the strafe button. A for me is strafe, and I just held it down, and all of a sudden my little rogue just runs off the Zeppelin and splat, and we had to start over. It was fun. It was a good run. We're not going to do rogue. I actually started a new warrior, level 11 currently. By the time you hear this, definitely will be level 12, or we'll be dead and I'll be going again. But that's fine. It's a ton of fun. I've talked about Hardcore Classic WoW a few times. You get 1 life, there's no trading, there's no auction house, there's no mailing, you can only run dungeons once. Those are the basic rules. Well, maybe we'll talk more about it, but there wasn't actually one interesting thing. So with all these rules, it's very challenging. It's whatever you can do and create and craft and level up and do on your own. So it's a really interesting, fun challenge. We talked about last time, there are rumors that there will be potentially official servers, and that could be cool. But we actually saw on March 21st into March 22nd that there were issues with the real live servers, where there was the wrong servers copied into the North American servers during one of the updates that Blizzard regularly does. And it took a while for the issues to get resolved. I was at work during that time, so it didn't affect me because, Gaming Dad's schedule, I don't get to play that much, and that's cool. But it didn't affect me. But I saw online, I'm online seeing people getting all upset and frustrated, and it was kind of interesting to see. There was one server rollback. So some people who died from disconnects and issues like that did actually have their character rolled back and saved. But it will be interesting to see if there ever is, and we talked about this before, if there is an official hardcore Blizzard run server, what sort of grief protection, server crashing, disconnect, server rollback systems will be in place, because it's a very real thing. I mean, they're good. Let's be honest. Blizzard's pretty good at their server stability. I know they're horrible, but overall, let's be honest. It's hard to run a live server 24 hours a day, every day of the year. And I think they do reasonably well. So it'll be interesting what they do to protect from stuff that's out of players' hands, especially with hardcore servers, because there has to be something to keep people going. Okay, and that's going to be enough of the hardcore talk. That's the quick little Gaming Dad update. The next thing is, I still haven't finished Breath of the Wild. which leads perfectly into the first thing I want to talk about, which is Tears of the Kingdom. There's been a couple actual gameplay trailers which have completely intimidated me. I still haven't beat Breath of the Wild because I don't want it to be over. I want to continue to continue to play and enjoy the game. But once I beat it, I know there's a million things to do in the game that I haven't done. But I still I don't want it to be over because I'm gonna cry the same way I'm gonna cry at the end of Clone Wars and a bunch of stuff that I get myself committed to and into. So in the new Tears of the Kingdom trailer, we saw a couple really cool mechanics that we know the speedrunners and the super creative people will absolutely, I don't want to say exploit, but will manipulate and do incredibly cool things with, and they are super cool. There's weapon fusions, there's a rewind mechanic, and we know that these weapon fusions are we're going to see clips on, there are still clips online of Breath of the Wild, of stuff, there's videos now getting posted of 20 things you never knew of Breath of the Wild, and the game's like 6 years old. And the same thing is going to happen in Tears of the Kingdom, and people are going to be racing to be building Gundams the way that this looks like you can fuse things together, fuse items, fuse weapons. I think they put, what did they put? They put I want to say a potato on a shield, an apple on a shield. I forget what it was in the trailer. Something silly like that. It was a mushroom on a shield. That's what it was. Potato on a shield, close enough. And the one thing that's interesting to note that a lot of people are getting upset about, they have not shown a lot of the overworld. A lot of the overworld looks exactly, or at least very similar to what we've seen in Breath of the Wild. And people complain, well, why am I paying full price for a game that's basically a reskin of a game from 6 years ago? These mechanics, first of all, look super cool. So that's okay. Second of all, I have a little maybe hot take prediction that what they're showing, sure, it's gonna be playable in the game, but there's a lot more that they're not showing. Like, they kind of have the base Breath of the Wild game, and then you go and do whatever else Tears of the Kingdom does. And if not, it's still a massive world. It looks like there's flying stuff, and I'm assuming there's gonna be dungeons. The classic Legend of Zelda, minimum 8 dungeons, if not a bunch more. You go do your thing. And the one thing, and I kind of started off this whole idea of saying, like, I'm definitely intimidated because I feel like there's so much potential with these new mechanics that I went into Breath of the Wild blind, and I didn't read any guides. I wasn't watching videos, anything like that. And I know people are going to do super, super creative stuff, and that's really, really cool, right? That's really, really cool. However, I know I'm not going to do super, super creative stuff, and that's fine. But maybe we'll just beat it, and then we'll watch some videos, and then we can kind of go into that. And maybe there's also, there's only one other thing that I've noticed from the trailers that I actually really, really liked. There's some foundations of houses, which maybe there's going to be more in Breath of the Wild. You can build them. Breath of the Wild's cool because you do a quest and sometimes they're like, here's 100 rupees, and you're like, cool, that was good, I guess. And then other times it's like, here, now you're buying a house and you're going to help build a whole village. So with the foundation of these houses, either it's helping real rebuilding happen in the world, or maybe it's just, building another Terry town like it was in Breath of the Wild. Very, very cool. Lots and lots of fun potential stuff going on there. Let's jump into Pokemon Go talk. All right, this is the other game that Gaming Dad Fujo is playing, partially because there's a whole bunch of, I want to say, childlike adults that I work with at my job. And I say that affectionately, and they know if they ever hear this, they know I mean that affectionately. We all grew up playing Pokemon, and Pokemon Go is this potentially super casual thing you can do for free. However, on March 30th, it was announced the remote raids, which came out during COVID because Pokemon Go did not want to be encouraging people to gather in large groups in very tight-knit locations to do the raids, which is a really cool mechanic in the game. I don't say tons of people. You can do most of the raids with 5 to 6 people. The hardest ones, you're probably going to still need like 12 to 15. But during COVID, I say during COVID, I hope I'm not completely off on the date. I've been playing Pokemon and Go on and off. The most recent time that I've come back, 6-7 months ago now, remote raids have been in the game. And it's really cool because for 100 coins, in-game currency that you can earn for free, you can join someone else's raid. So if one person's at a raid, they can invite up to 10 people to join them. So you don't need 10 people standing there with you, which also my social anxiety, antisocial self kind of really enjoys saying, hey, I'm going to go to the gyms and put my Pokemon in and get my coins. And then I can just remote raid on my own schedule with anyone around the world. I have Pokemon from Australia. I've got Pokemon from Europe, in Africa. It's super, super cool. And this was only, like I said, 100 Pokecoins. It's been changed now, 195, which is, if you get 50 a day, let's do the math. That's 4 days of your free coins, of your quote-unquote free coins, in order to get one raid, which you don't, if you're doing the most challenging raids, you're not guaranteed to catch the Pokemon. So it could be very, very frustrating. This actually just went live as I was coming home, because I know in the morning, for me on April 6th, I maxed out you can only carry 3 remote raids. I maxed out 3 in my bags, and now they're actually 195. So I bought them at 100. Now in the afternoon, they're 195. I thought they were going way too extreme with this. This seems like a money grab, unfortunately. They tried to put out some quote of, this is for the health of the game, and this is going to benefit longer term, continuation. I understand Pokemon Go was meant to get people to walk and interact and look at different places and sort of that sort of thing. It's this cool thing. Other than, let's be honest, it's stealing our GPS data and selling that for a lot of money. It's meant to get you out, and so it can steal your GPS data as you're walking around. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. And that's what they do. And for whatever, and I feel like the remote raids, again, you can pay money to do lots of remote raids if you want. And I assumed people would. I haven't. But I assumed people would, because there's always people who just say, I want to do a couple extra. Hey, there's a Mewtwo raid. I want to do a bunch. There's a Kyogre raid. I want to do a bunch. And they just drop money. And then the other weird thing is they put a restriction of only 5 remote raids per day. Which again, if someone wants to sit at their house and spend $50, why would Pokemon not want that? It's a strange thing. I'm assuming they're going to roll it back. I think they increased this pricing too much. They put such a high price that they can roll it back in a month, and all of a sudden, oh, look how responsive we are. We saw the community wanted to still have this game mechanic. We saw that we overpriced it. We're going to roll it back, and we're going to give you one free one to encourage you to come back. I think it's a bit of BS here, but it's silly and it's unfortunate, and I don't know. This is kind of we always talk about these like corporate greed stories, or at least borderline corporate greed stories, and it's upsetting. It's disappointing. There's really no need for it. It's just, and of course, out of all the games, the silly children's catching cute little Pokemon game that a group of professional adults that I play with is all professional adults that we all play together. There's no reason for it. I don't expect people. I don't see how they're going to make more money, especially if they limit the number of times you can go per day. Anyways, that's my Pokemon Go rant. I'm going to keep up to date, because again, this is one of the few games that I do play again, because I have time to play this on the go. Hence, the name. Next topic will be the Mandalorian. I feel like I was doing a lot of TV show talk at the beginning, so look at this. I'm trying to get a little more creative and not jump straight into the TV shows. We talked about a bunch of gaming stuff here, so that's good. Mandalorian, Season 3. I am loving this. I'm also currently going through the Clone Wars, and we're going to talk about Season 3, Episodes 5 and 6, because I think those are the ones. But I'm not going to do the full, I feel like I was kind of doing like recaps of like, oh, and then in The Last of Us, Joel walked over here and they saw the giraffe, and like, cool. But right now, Mandalorian, let's just talk about the feeling. Let's talk about our feelings right now. I feel like the Mandalorian right now is and this is a compliment, just so we're clear, in case you haven't watched the Clone Wars, this is 100% a genuine compliment. The Mandalorian right now is as good as the best of the Clone Wars. And that's really high praise to me, because they're going on these adventures every week, right? It's a weekly, you come back every Wednesday, you watch it the second, you avoid the internet all day long, then you go watch it when you get home on Wednesday, and you see these cool stories. And the great thing is, so many of these stories now intertwine, and there's this character over here, and they don't see them for 4 episodes, and then the pirates come back, and but then one pirate escapes, and guess what? That pirate's coming back. That pirate's coming back. And now we're going to get a flashback to the night of Order 66, and yes, Ahmed Best. Absolutely super cool. For the uninitiated, Ahmed Best is an actor, famously known for playing, there's everyone's favorite, obviously everyone's favorite Jar Jar Binks. Now, I never had a problem. I think I mentioned this on stream. We've talked about Star Wars many, many times. I never had a problem with Jar Jar. I understood Jar Jar was there for kids and maybe not targeted towards me. Episode 1 still had, I think, arguably one of the coolest lightsaber battles. I think, honestly, Bo-Katan, when Bo-Katan got the dark saber in episode 4 or 5 of this season, arguably just as cool because of how like vicious she was fighting with it. But yeah, so I didn't have a problem. But Ahmed Best got personally attacked. This was before social media, thank goodness. And Ahmed Best was personally attacked because of his portrayal as an actor of a character. So it was really, really weird. Absolutely obviously unwarranted. If you don't like Jar Jar, just like move on with it. Why would you focus on something negative? We're talking about positivity. All we do is positivity here. That's all we're worried about. So you get this incredible flashback where Ahmed Best is playing Kelleron Beck. That was a bit of a tongue twister, which I didn't know this. I was looking this up because I was like, oh, this is very interesting to me. Ahmed Best played this character on a Jedi Temple Challenge kids game show a few years ago. So it's the same Jedi character that he played now gets put into the actual Star Wars universe as the Jedi who saves Grogu from Order 66. This is, I know I grew up as a massive Star Wars nerd and fan, and this is just so cool to see all of this stuff all intertwined. And then this most recent episode 6, is completely, to me, a Clone Wars episode. We have just super wacky, incredible Clone Wars feeling type of stuff. Droid Bar, Droid Morgue, Battle Droids, Bullet Train. We have Jack Black, Christopher Lloyd. We have fish people. We have the fish people. We have Forbidden Love. We have everything. Lizzo was in this episode. I'm gonna show my age. I'm not a big fan of Lizzo, and you can not like me for it. It's not that I dislike her. I just realize, again, I am old, and as a young pop star that she is, I don't necessarily connect with the music that she's making. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I saw her and I was like, I think I recognize you. But I realize also I listen to her songs and I'm like, okay, that's probably not targeted towards me. And that's fine. That's fine as an old dude. I'm not connecting with modern pop music. That's totally fine. But there were incredible, look at those things that I just mentioned. We also got to hear the droid voice in this episode. We didn't get a Roger, which is unfortunate. I actually use that in real life sometimes around the house. And then, of course, Din gets to drop the, "You had me at battle droids." Absolutely fantastic. What do you need to be 30, 35 plus to get that reference? What Din said when they said, we're going to go after these battle droids. Are you in? You had me at battle. Incredible. Super, super fun Star Wars. To quote my friends on Love Island, I'm buzzing. Okay. I get giddy thinking about how much fun this is. And as a Star Wars geek growing up, I'm just so happy that this is happening. And we're just getting this, and I'm just so into it. What are we going to talk about next? Let's talk about next Counter-Strike 2. This is super nostalgic, okay? You can tell my heart is beating, okay? My hands are shaking, but I'm still shooting. We'll talk about Pure Ownage another time. That's another obscure online gaming reference, but that's okay. We'll talk about that another time. This looks really, really interesting. I think we've done it I know we've done it a couple times on stream. Some first-person shooters. I'm no good. I am not excellent. But here's the thing. This is actually getting very well received by people online in the first-person shooting community. I played Counter-Strike 1.6 growing up. Actually, probably before. I know it was before. So there was Counter-Strike 1.0, went to 1.6, but they're technically all the same game, just different updates. And then there have been multiple iterations until we now have CSGO. And now the next game that's come out is Counter-Strike 2. So it's confusing. I actually looked this up. There was Counter-Strike 1.0, which went to 1.6. Then they had Counter-Strike Condition 0. Then Counter-Strike Source. Then Counter-Strike Go, CSGO, and now they have Counter-Strike 2. So yes, the fifth Counter-Strike is now called Counter-Strike 2, which I love. I love that it's confusing like that. There was a couple of cool game mechanics that I saw in the trailer where a lot of times in these, a lot of FPS, we know this, people throw a smoke bomb and then you kind of have to wait and you're trying to strategize in the what are the battle royales, the BRs, you're always trying to like maneuver around them to gain position on your opponents. In games like Counter-Strike, you're trying to hold choke points so people can't run through. You'll take them down, right? It's really, really cool because then someone throws a smoke and then you can get rid of it by throwing a different grenade will like actually disperse the smoke. So it seems like there's going to be some really cool. It seems like a lot of the competitive people and even people who play the game casually still want to play it competitive-esque, if not at, not a professional level, but they still want to have fun with it and do cool things. Very well received. I'm really, really liking the fact that there's a sequel here. And it's being well received because sometimes you see these sequels for games, Overwatch 2, and it just looks like a big patch. And it's disappointing. And this is being well received. There's a graphical update. There's mechanical updates. I'm excited. And of course, just a funny naming convention. How can I not enjoy this? How can I not enjoy that? What's the next topic over here? It's going to be E3 2023 is canceled. I mentioned E3 a while ago. Basically, There's everyone pulled out of it. PlayStation pulled out. Nintendo pulled out. Xbox, Microsoft pulled out. What's the point? It's a weird end of an era. It's not necessarily an end of an era. E3 used to be this fantastic, look at all of our cool games, test out some demos. And obviously the pandemic slowed things down. Let's not lie. And they've already talked about, there's going to be future E3 events. But E3, all these big companies like Nintendo just does their Nintendo Directs. Like we're talking about a Tears of the Kingdom trailer a couple minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, 3 hours ago, the way I'm talking right now. But they can all do their own presentations at this point. They don't quote unquote need a localized thing. Now it's cool if everyone comes together and can do this massive monster event. Honestly, why not at that point? But it seems like there's no need for it. It's kind of sad. It's a end of an era. There was always a lot of buzz. There was interest, all of that. But it's one of those things where, especially in recent years, and again, partially, I'm never sure if it's like a me thing or if it's the industry thing or if I'm just getting old. I always just missed the energy and the hype leading up to it more than the actual event. I would never sit there and watch an entire day's worth of presentation. I'd say, I'm looking into this one game. Let me watch that one trailer. So why wouldn't that company just do their own 10, 15, 20-minute presentation and let me watch that trailer? And so I think that's kind of where the industry went. I think that's kind of where the future is going. But maybe there's still hope. So cheers to E3. Hopefully, if they can get their act together, maybe they can do some showcases every other year, every third year, focus more on indie and smaller developers. Who knows? So we'll raise a glass to them and say all the best. Thanks for the good memories. Thanks for the good times. And hopefully we can have an E3 again in the future that's impactful. Because I think that's really the problem here. It just wasn't really as impactful as it would need it to have been to justify the whole grandeur of everything that's going to happen. What are we going to jump into next? Here's an interesting, weird, and disappointing story. The Rock getting fired from Black Adam. There are some interesting stories. Here's the thing. I grew up a Star Wars geek and nerd. This may surprise you. I also grew up loving some pro wrestling. There's going to be a second pro wrestling story later on, and maybe we'll just go into it right after this one. We'll end on a more positive. Actually, we were going to end on a more positive, reminiscent note. We will do 2 wrestling stories. I grew up with wrestling. Monday Night Wars, Stone Cold, The Rock, all that. NWO, love it. Macho Man, absolutely fantastic. Ooh, yeah. All good, right? However, apparently The Rock is one of these like fantastic, everybody loves The Rock guys. He's posting, he's bench pressing 700 pounds at 3 a.m. when he pulls into his hotel when he's got to get back to set in the next, and he's flying to Milan, okay? He's going to shoot a movie in Milan and in Arizona the next day, and he's just doing squats on his private jet, okay? He's loading up 8 plates each side just so he can get a pump going, okay? He doesn't mess around. Everyone loves The Rock. He's so positive. He's shaking people. He's kissing baby. He's shaking hands. Here's the one thing. The Rock was selling. Let me just a local story because we're Canadian. We're proud of it. The Rock was in Toronto, and I'm local because I said Toronto, not Toronto. That's fine. You dropped the last O. The T. Toronto. Yeah, drop the last T, not the O is important. It'd be weird if it was Toronto. The Rock was in Toronto at a Leafs game, Toronto Maple Leafs, NHL. And he tried to get it. He was on the mic because that's what The Rock does. He's fantastic on the mic. And he started a chant, "Let's go Leafs. Let's go Leafs. It's go Leafs, go Rock. What are you doing? Is this amateur hour, Rock? Get your head in the game." Oh, that should have been my first hint something was going on. So let me finally get to the story of what's happening while again, see, this is, okay, now I'm in my element because this is how the streams used to be. This is just as a note for anyone who's made it to the 24 minutes-ish. This is exactly how the streams used to be. I would start talking and I would distract myself. So there are reports that Rock has been pressuring the DC executives to make Black Adam the centerpiece of the DC universe. He didn't want to share screen time with Zachary Levi? I'm going to call him Levi like the jeans. I'm in a good mood right now in the post-credits. He didn't want to be with Shazam. How can Black Adam not be with Shazam? What are you thinking, Rock? I love you, but what are you thinking? This is Shazam without Black Adam. You need this rivalry. If you've read the comics, again, what a surprise. I like comic books too, growing up, for those of you who don't know. And here's the thing. Rock kind of seems like he doesn't want to be the bad guy because he wants to be loved, even in the movies. Here's the thing, Rock. I'm going to talk right to you, Dwayne. I'm a huge fan, huge supporter. This is the problem. Look at how good Thanos was in Infinity War. One of the largest superhero movie of all time. I think Endgame was probably bigger in the numbers. Infinity War, Endgame, I consider them one movie, just so we can talk Marvel another time, but they're one movie to me, right? Infinity War was about the bad guy. It was about Thanos, and it was fantastic. This could have been The Rock building to become Thanos in 5, 10. And you know what? Here's the thing. The Rock's only going to get bigger in 10 years. He doesn't even need the muscle suit. You're going to be like, Rock, can you actually lose 15 pounds for this role? Okay, you're getting a little too big. We can't afford catering. Okay, he's eating 15,000 calories for breakfast. It's too much. It missed an amount. If the report, and it seems like the reports are true because there's more and more people coming out to talk about this, and we know DC's a whole mess and getting rebooted, and some people are staying and some people aren't. Oh, and Superman's gone, but actually we need The Witcher to come back. It's a whole thing. So if these reports are true, it's just sad. It's disappointing. Rock always seemed like such a good, positive guy. And if maybe he got, I don't know what happened. Obviously, we don't know what happened. But if these reports are true, it's disappointing. And if he's leaving as Black Adam, it's just another disappointing thing for DC that they just can't get people to lock in. Because that's part of what Marvel did that was so successful. Iron Man, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. Okay, you know who Captain America is going to be. Like, you have these characters recurring not year after year. You have a couple years off, and then it's disappointing. Rock had potential to be Thanos for DC, and if all these reports are true, it's missed an opportunity, and it's really, really too bad. Let's jump into another wrestling story. WWE was sold to Endeavor, which is the parent company of UFC. This is really weird. This is not a fun story. Vince left, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, with, I'll say, quote unquote, allegations of sexual abuse and payoffs and all of this sort of stuff. It's very disappointing. To hear that. Again, as a kid who grew up just being like, I like wrestling. And then everyone at school is like, Fujo, you're a loser. And I'm like, oh, stop picking on me, everyone. But, it's fine. It's fine. I had a good childhood. I was a very happy kid. Again, what a surprise. I was pretty positive about things, right? So this is really disappointing to hear that all of these horrible things are coming out from some of the backstage. And I'll say these allegations and for, keeping I'm not even sure if they are allegations at this point or if it's just cold, hard fact. I'm not sure where it is. I'll say allegations so I'm being safe, okay? And then Vince McMahon left, 6 or 8 months ago, and now apparently he's back, and there was a really weird Monday Night Raw. And I'm not watching pro wrestling with any sort of regularity. I like to keep up to date, actually, with like little clips, again, on my phone, probably when I'm in the bathroom pooping, just to see, what's going on. I like to follow along the storylines that way. Oh, this person seems like they're being funny. Oh, this person's doing really cool stuff. Oh, Dominic Mysterio is really awesome. Like, great. I like to keep up to date like that, right? I'm not really watching any wrestling anymore. And it's disappointing that now it seems like Vince is back and there was all these like all these like rumors that WWE is going to be sold to some group of Saudis. And they get sold to Endeavor, which again, I'm not following UFC, but the one thing that I think is the biggest red flag is the UFC's pay-per-view model, that the pay-per-views are very expensive. And again, I'm not sitting out there and paying for pay-per-views, but it's just really questionable. It seems like there's questionable management. If there's uncertainty at the top, that will trickle down. We talked about business practices trickle down. Yeah, the money never does, but the chaos definitely does trickle down, and that's unfortunate. I hope things settle. It seems like generally people have been very happy with the way things have been run, both as fans and then the things that do leak from the backstage or interviews that performers do give. Some of the wrestlers give for about 6 months now, so we're hoping that continues. But it's a story we'll follow. It's disappointing. Obviously, it's horrible. It's actually horrible. It's not disappointing. It is horrible. Some of the stories that we've heard with these with regards to these allegations. But we're hoping that things can continue to move in a better direction. Like it seems, like I said, they have been moving 6 months. Okay, let's finish with a feel-good story, a nostalgic story. We already mentioned Pokemon once today. Let's talk about. We had the final mainline Pokemon episode starring Ash, Pikachu, and Team Rocket. They have blasted off for the final time. You will never have trouble and make it double. Ash and Pikachu, they literally are going to walk off into the sunset. They were the best, like no one ever was. It's undeniable. And they are going to make cameos, apparently, in the new series. There's going to be a new series, a new main character, a new main Pokemon, and we're only going to see Uncle Ash, or however Ash is going to be showing up every once in a while. And this is a massive, massive end of an era. Think about how massive Pokemon is. We'll definitely raise a glass to Ash and to Pikachu, and for the massive series and everything that's followed out of it. All the games, let's be honest, the merch sells as much and makes just as much, I think actually way more money than the games and the cards and the everythings. So thank you to them. It's interesting, Ash actually started as a horrible Pokemon trainer and actually grew, although never aged. Let's be honest. Ash never aged in 25, 30 years, whatever it was. That little teenager who left never aged, but he grew as a person. And he never did catch them all. He never did catch them all. So there's a little false advertising, but that's cool. It's absolutely incredible achievement to have anything last that long, like this podcast. Well, not the specific one, but I mean the series of this podcast. So cheers to Ash and to Pikachu and to Team Rocket blasting off one final time. And that is where we are going to end it for today. Not bad. Going to be around 30-minute mark. I'll take that almost any day of the week. I'm going to say thanks to all of you who have made it this far, obviously. Thank you. I hope you're doing well, staying safe. I want to thank special thanks to everyone who came out to the stream. We're not going to pick a date yet. We're going to give it some time, let it breathe. We'll do it again. I'm thinking June, July, maybe August. We'll get there. So for now, I'm going to stay safe, be good to each other, and we will hopefully talk to each other sometime very, very soon. Bye-bye.